Welcome to the Town Board meeting of the Amenia Town Board. Today is Thursday, April 24th, 2014, 7 o'clock. Let's all rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pause for a moment to recognize our brave troops. The emergency exit is at the back of the room. Do we have anybody for public comment?
We do, and real quick, for a quick roll call, Councilman Zelenko.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Vicki Doyle.
Here.
Councilman Perotti.
Here.
And let it be noted that Supervisor Perotti is absent and Gretchen is running late. For public comments, Wayne Newbart.
Thank you. Wayne Newbart. Just a couple of quick comments. I have two hats tonight. First time I'll put on my Lions Club hat. And as most everybody's aware, we put up the holiday banners last year, and welcome to Amenia, et cetera, and we've certainly heard good comments on that. We have full approval from NYSEG to put them on their poles. At our last meeting, we decided we wanted to maybe rotate those out with more seasonal things for the summer and fall, possibly some patriotic banners to show our veterans and still welcome people to Amenia, and then at Christmas put back our Christmas snowflakes. So I just, as a courtesy, I'm letting the town board know if anyone has any questions on that, I'd certainly welcome them. Yes? Oh. Secondly, I met with Pedro Torres and Mike Donaco at Silo Ridge, and I know they're doing an awful lot for the town. Have material for the ball fields. I think they're doing some stuff around Town Hall here. As I was talking with them, they have about 25 15-foot light poles and 6 20-footers that are double that go up the roadway and around the parking lot, and they're going to take those out. There's a couple that have been promised to another organization, but I told them I would certainly come to the town. I did talk to Victoria today. I stopped down at the ball field and spoke with some folks, and we could certainly use them down around the parking area, maybe on the roadway back, and certainly here, when I leave here in the evening and it's dark, out in the front, it's dark out there, and people going down the steps, it's always been a little concern of mine. There are some lights, but I think we could decorate the U out front here and our parking lots plus the ball field. So this is a freebie that they're willing to give us. We would just have to obviously, supply electric and put them up. But I would certainly think you would welcome that. So thank you very much.
Perfect time too, since they're going to be doing since Mr. Blackman donated the garden and stuff.
Yeah.
Really just increase and then enhance the town hall area and the safety too.
So I can tell them it's okay?
Well, I'm not.
I would think all we need to do right now is store them until we have the funds set aside to do that kind of thing.
And I would think
we do have to check into it because, I mean, Wayne, you know and I know sometimes taking something down, reusing it, it's not as cost effective sometimes as buying something new. It's something to look into because then we still have to trench the wires, we still have to set the poles and all that stuff. But I mean, it's definitely something we should talk about and, figure out which way to go with it.
And you can certainly store them down at the ball field for temporary.
That's true.
All right, thank you very much.
You got it.
Stephanie Murphy.
Stephanie Murphy, I'm the captain of the Amenia Rescue Squad, and kind of wanted to take an opportunity to talk about the E911 law, which is numbering, well, it's in part numbering your residents and structures in the town. It's a huge problem. I can't talk about anything specifically, but I can tell you there's been delays in responding to houses because we cannot find the address. Either there's old numbers, there's missing numbers, there's numbers that match the background. Okay, so I just wanted to let you guys know as a responder that residents' names are not always given. And you may think that everybody knows you, but everyone does not know you. We don't know where the ambulance is coming from. We go mutual aid to other departments, Pauling, Millbrook. These people may not know you. They don't know the streets. They're counting on that accuracy coming from dispatch and having it transferred to the roadways so they can find your address. And just coming up here on 343 and coming down, I mean, the church isn't even numbered, but I mean, I don't know it's a Presbyterian church, you know. There's quite a few houses in here that are not. It's the responsibility of the property owner of record. So even if your landlord has not numbered it, you should encourage them to do so. This law is available on the duchessnewyork.gov website. You can read it in its entirety. It's not difficult to read. It's not terrible at all. And so encourage your landlords to post the numbers, and also if there's an apartment complex, those doors inside or outside should be numbered or lettered somehow so that we can find you. I mean, we're carrying, you know, we got the ambulance to find you, and then we're carrying the equipment that has to go into your house. We don't need to be going from door to door and saying, hey, is it you the one that called 911? And the other thing I would like to talk about is to make sure that everyone in your household knows your 911 number. A lot of people are getting rid of their landlines in favor of cell phones. And the GPS system that shows your address with the cell phones, I'm not sure how it works, but it doesn't work as immediate as if you pick up your telephone and you're calling 911. Okay, so make sure you or your kids know your 911 number and know where they are. I have parts of the law that I pulled out before I came here. But the road address numbers are not to be less than 3 inches in height and shall be made of durable and clearly visible material, reflective if possible. If more than 50 feet from the road or entrance is not visible from the road, the number shall be placed on a post along a walk or driveway or other location so that the address number is visible from the road from any direction. When we're driving, we're not looking right at your mailbox. We're looking at the side of it. So that's where you need to have your numbers. And also that it is of contrasting color to the background to which the numbers are mounted. And a second set of numbers shall be placed on a structure more than 50 feet from the road. And there's actually fines that can be levied. It's really not enforceable, although somebody could make it enforceable if they looked at it. Not me, but somebody else. It's a $50 for first offense, $100 for the second offense. So, I mean, it's a safety thing. It's to protect you. If your house is on fire, it's pretty obvious. There's flames shooting out. But if you're in your bathroom, collapsed on the floor, it's more difficult to find something. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Vicki, I could get a hold of the code enforcement officer and see if that's part of fire inspection when he does these apartment buildings and stuff like that. So I could just imagine there might be something in it. And I could speak with him and see what we could do to try to, you know, get this 911 stuff on. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
That sounds like a good idea, and I believe you can buy these numbers relatively inexpensively at Tractor Supply.
Yeah,
They're
Tractor
reflective?
Supply, Page has them.
Where? Any hardware store has what you need that's regulation, 3 inches high and contrasting color and reflective, right? Needs to be reflective.
Yeah, we live in a rural area, so it's very, very important to make sure that that our rescue personnel and our fire department knows where you are. You know, so it is a matter of safety.
Is there more public comment?
Evelyn O'Connell.
Ellen O'Connell, Amenia. I'm up here to, there is a performance review fundraiser for the Michael J. Colucci Memorial Fund. In case people don't know, that was the son of one of the owners of the Pines who died last year. And the show is going to be at the Dover High School, and it's directed by Michael Berkeley, who was ahead of the Sharon production. He does wonderful shows. It's on 22, but it doesn't say at the bottom that all the monies go towards scholarships for the Dover and the Weebutuck high school students. So it's on May 3rd at 7:30 at the Dover High School. You have to go on this website to get tickets. It's MJC Fund Performance Review .eventbrite brite.com/. Those where you can get the tickets through that. I just wanted people to know that it's a fundraiser for the students, and if we could get all of the students and the families and the teachers, it would really help with the scholarships. Also, I just have a couple of comments. I'm the recreation treasurer, and at our last meeting, we discussed the playground. And as the treasurer, I have some concerns about the cost of that. We have about approximately $94,000 in our fund for capital improvements. The equipment alone is going to cost $87,000. Now, when the Parkatech representative came, she discussed remediating the grounds for the playground to go in. And she said it could cost anywhere from $20,000 to $22,000 just for that. We need to take out all the old equipment. We need to remove the sand. There's also a runoff of rain from the roof of the town hall. Particularly, I don't believe that should come out of recreation funds. That should be addressed by the town hall. But we have to be careful because there is a wetland back there, and so we have to be very careful how we do that. I know that John Fenton is working with DEC to get the permits, but I'm so afraid we're going to go over budget, and I don't know who's going to be responsible for that. I know we can get some volunteers, but I'm not sure if the regulations from the DEC, since we don't have them yet, will allow that. So I think we need to be very careful before we start this project. I also would like to see it done, this is only my personal opinion, I would like to see it done in stages. I don't know why we have to do the whole thing at once. We're going to have 3 parks now. We're going to have the school, we're going to have Beekman, and we're going to have Wassaic. We have one person that in the summer works, Sean is there from 4 o'clock. We have only one other person who's only there 10 hours a week, only for the summer. I don't think that's enough to do all the maintenance on these fields. And I don't want to see any one of them left out. I also have some concerns about who's going to take care of this equipment when it comes into the town hall. So I just want people to think about that and we have some of these answers before we go ahead. I'm also a little bit concerned about the sewer system. I see what's happened up at the high school. They're using our fields because of troubles with the sewer system. We also had trouble last year down at the ball field with the sewer system. So I do believe that it is a concern. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
That's all that's signed up.
Okay. Town clerk's report?
Good evening. I'd just like to give a community awareness reminder that we are in a no burn until May 15th. Taxes can be collected at the town clerk's office up until May 31st. If you wish to mail in your taxes, they have to be postmarked by May 31st. After that date, there is no way that I'll be able to assist you, and you'll have to go out to Poughkeepsie and deal with the Commissioner of Finance. And I just would like to also let all of our hunters and fishermen know that I did attend the DEC training last week in Albany. I'm waiting for the equipment to come in, and I'm hoping that it should all be in next week. So the start of May, I will be able to start selling fishing and hunting licenses again. And that's all.
Highway Department?
Yes, we've been busy trying to get the roads graded, try to get them swept. The weather hasn't been very helpful. We got Tower Hill and Deep Hollow done. Got the sweeper coming in hopefully next week. We've done some with the loader where we can sweep off the road. And that's about all I have. Any questions? We've taken down a few trees.
Appreciate your help with the trees and keeping Fountain Square looking good. I was wondering if in a couple of weeks, when we know what all perennial flowers are coming up or not in our barrels, in 2 weeks, whether or not if I mark those barrels that need to be taken away, that would work?
Yep, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Grant report, Mike Haggerty.
Good evening, Town Board members. I'm Mike Haggerty, Town Grant Writer. I will be forwarding you a written report as well tonight, so I apologize for not having that. I did want to give a brief update on our grant projects. I met with Supervisor Perotti last week and with Rudy Eschbach. We discussed, we're putting the finishing touches on the kitchen grant. We finalized the budget. We've obtained several powerful letters of support, one in particular from Congressman Chris Gibson, and from State Senator Terry Gibson. We're getting one from Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett and members of the farmers market as well. The grant basically is completed, so I will be filing it very soon. We also discussed other town ongoing grant projects and looking towards other possible opportunities to meet the town's community development needs. One of those is the Transportation Alternatives Program, which has a June deadline, and we had discussed the idea of extending the sidewalk from downtown to Beekman Park, which I think would be a great match, or extending sidewalks within the community, and that's definitely an eligible project. It's a federal grant that reimburses the town for up to 80% of the cost. It's similar to, it is the same program really that we are using for the Wassaic Trail to the train. So now, so that's one of the projects we discussed, and another upcoming grant is the Greenway Communities grant, which is due on May 9th. In addition to the fact that really there's going to be several grant opportunities coming up in the summer through the consolidated funding application process, particularly I was thinking in terms of the town, if we're focusing on this site, the town hall becoming a community center, it may make sense to approach New York State Parks and Recreation once again for a significant grant, possibly to help finance the playground as a larger part of a project here at Town Hall. Because they are really interested in larger scale projects, like at least 100,000, and those are 50-50 matching grants. So if it's a $100,000 grant, the project would be a $200,000 project. They can award grants up to $500,000. I think we have a good chance because the town does have a good record of completing grants. I am happy to report that the Main Street grant is, the final disbursement has been approved by Office of Community Renewal. So the full $195,000 has been dispersed or will be dispersed to the town. The final payment to Claire Houlihan is $41,750. So as soon as that money is transferred into the bank account of the town, I've already alerted the bookkeeper that it's coming. Victoria knows it's coming. I told Claire that as soon as we get it, I'll call her and the town will have a check ready for her. Mr. Patel has been paid, the library's been paid, the town has been reimbursed for grant administration and for streetscape. If there's any leftover funds, we asked that, that the town get that money because of the amount of money that you spent on the streetscape. I think there might be $1,500 left at the end, which isn't that much, but we'd like to get the full amount, I assume. But I think it ended up having a positive impact, and you may want to consider applying again, as onerous of a grant as it is. We did, Victoria and I set up a monitoring visit with Erin Kinney of Office of Community Renewal, so she'll be coming to town, I believe, at 10:30 on May 30th. And we have to have a lot of files ready for her. She wants, basically, we have to review the entire project from start to finish, documenting the fact that we held public meetings, we solicited public interest, we sought competitive applications. The town had the town board met and discussed the projects, chose the projects based on the pre-approved criteria of the Main Street grant and the Amenia priorities. So $160,000 has been committed to private landowners, which resulted in an additional 20% commitment from those landowners, not to mention the benefits that the local economy could receive as a result of the renovations. So I think it is a positive thing. It probably is something we should build on. I'm looking forward to the meeting with Erin because, like when you complete any grant, you always learn new things, and it's definitely an opportunity to be audited. And so, and it would be nice to have the landowners too and get their feedback as to what they felt about the process. But
Maybe,
anyway,
maybe do something for Wassaic?
well, yes, that is definitely an idea. Main Street grant for Wassaic is certainly something you may want to consider. We've done a lot of the work here in Amenia, and I'll let you know. The deadline, I think, is going to be in August for the new Main Street grants. That is the same program that manages the state community development block grants. So those are a lot of things that you may want to consider for the future, the CDBG program and New York State Parks, as we're looking to focus on downtown Amenia or your hamlets. Trying to think of, just getting back to the kitchen project, I mentioned the letters of support, but also there's several volunteers who have been helping. Rudy Eschbach and Victoria wanted to thank them, and also thank Silo Ridge, who is donating lots of equipment for this project.
That's great.
Rudy's gone over there and earmarked like big refrigerators and other things that they're going to be able to use. I guess that's it. I just wanted to give an update on those.
Any news on the Trail to the Train?
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, we still have all of our grants intact. The one question is this community development block grant. We may have to get an extension because technically the deadline of the 2013 grant that we got was August 2014, and it's still an ongoing process. The good news is that Victoria has been in touch with Tony Zanino, has forwarded to him the right-of-way documents. He's reviewing them with his attorney. Metro North is also reviewing that. They have to finalize the right-of-way agreement, but it's definitely been forwarded to them. The design report has been vetted. We've drawn down the maximum amount of funding for the design aspects of that grant. It's a $480,000 grant with a $120,000 match that Amenia has gone on record as saying that they are committed to this project and spending the $120,000. So that still is intact. We are still working on getting a contract on the Dormitory Authority grant, the $100,000. I've been in touch with Senator Ball's office and with the Dormitory Authority just to clarify the various funding sources.
That's their outstanding question, because as soon as we get the right-of-ways sealed,
then we can begin getting
then we can get the $100,000 once we assure them that we have our funding sources all in place. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any word back from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife organization that would tell us whether or not they are going to approve our plan?
I haven't heard that, but I can ask that, and I'll get back to you on that. The Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah.
I'd like to focus on, now that Main Street is pretty much completed, it would be good to, and I'll try to resurrect that dormitory authority grant, focus on getting the contract executed, in addition to pursuing new opportunities now that we have now that this grant is pretty much completed.
Could you tell us a little bit about the budget for the kitchen? Is that for some of us who have not been specifically involved, I know there's some donated equipment from Silo
Oh,
Bridge.
yes. Well, it is going to be more than 25,000. I mean, based upon just the fact that it's a major project that is going to,
I'm just talking about
Leo Blackman has offered and has given a lot of his time to develop a plan and schematics, but like with any project that is a public project, you still will need to have some funding for design, to do bid specifications and advertising and things like that. And the construction is going to involve rearranging some of the existing equipment, getting rid of that serving table. That's what I met with Rudy and Victoria about. He's estimating, I believe the budget now is about 55,000, including the donated equipment, because of the fact that there's going to be some modifications. Some electrical work is needed, an exhaust fan would be needed. It's a major project, but of course, the benefits are also great. I was very impressed by the letter from Congressman Gibson. At the end, it said, please let this office know of your decision. It's very powerful. I think he's very much behind it. So I think that's a good thing. So we will probably need additional funding. This community facilities grant, the maximum amount is 25,000.
Okay. So we're asking for the max, the 25.
Yes.
And then we need to find another source for an additional $30,000, more or less. Is that
Yes.
Okay.
And similar to most government grants, the town would be committing to financing the
Funding that
project
if they didn't
and
find
getting
additional
reimbursed.
sources.
It would probably benefit. I've often said it would be great to have like a community needs assessment for grants where you actually have a funding mechanism in place to pay for the grants so that you could expedite the reimbursement, assuming you have been approved on grants, the approved grants, I'm saying. Having a ban in place to kind of move the project forward can be very desirable. Just so, to be able to act, especially with the trail to the train, if you were to, do a major construction project like of that nature. Definitely. That's one of the things the dormitory authority is looking for, is an actual budget line item.
That
How
matches.
is this going to be paid for, the construction of the trail to the train, for example?
I believe that Victoria is looking into bundling that with the financing of
Yes.
the landfill so that there is one ban that goes out
Right.
for the amount of money that we need for both projects, for the rail trail and for the landfill. But I think that is what we need in order to give the confidence to the other funding agencies that we're actually going to complete the project. They don't want to give the money and have it not come to fruition, so,
That's right.
yeah.
Well, again, I like the grant idea, but again, do we have projects that we are looking for grants, or are we looking at grants and trying to make projects?
No.
I understand there is a 50-50 match, and it's great that the state or the federal government is going to give us $100,000, but we still have to find $100,000 somewhere else to finish the project.
Right, but we
So-
have received,
For the training,
yeah,
for the
we've
trail.
received $200,000 already.
Yeah, no, what
in
I'm talking
addition.
about, I'm talking about new grants.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, no, the existing grants are the existing grants, but the new grants that I'm talking about, again, if the town has a project and it needs a project and we got it, do we go and look for grants once we have a project in mind? Or do we look for grants and see and then make a project?
It's usually been the most important community needs. A lot of the stuff that we have done in the past has been based upon what the public is asking for, really.
Okay.
Well, look
Like,
at-
for example, the sidewalks, that was made, if someone's complaining, it does become kind of a priority. But no, it's a little bit of both. Grant opportunities come up and you think, oh, this would be a good match for Amenia, because Amenia's been talking about a sidewalk. So it is a little bit of both, but it really should be developing the needs, doing the needs assessment,
Yeah.
having a capital improvement plan, and then pursuing the grants to help you finance that capital improvement plan.
I mean, do we have a committee or anything about grants?
No, we have Mike and specific committee members go to Mike if they need him, or they apply for grants on their own. So it can be done by anybody. There are lots of different talents out there. If you know that subject better than anybody else, then you might be the better one filling out the paperwork and making the case for that project. For instance, Leo Blackman has found and has advocated for us applying for the Preserve New York program. It's a grant program of the Preservation League of New York State and New York State Council on the Arts. That's due May 5th, and he asked us to consider a grant that would be to pursue our filling out doing a historical cultural survey of the historic buildings in our historic district overlays districts. That was included in our comprehensive plan. What we had done at the time was just do a windshield, well, actually years ago, was a windshield survey that was done by volunteers, and they identified the historic structures in Amenia. But what we would like to do is go forward and hire a historian/consultant to do the research and prepare a report. That is due May 5th, and he suggests the whole cost of doing the hamlets would be $11,000 for the report, and he says that the grant would be for $6,000 from the grant, and $5,000 would need to be committed by the town or some other entity. So for him to go forward and apply for this grant, we would have to understand that there are matching funds that are required. Some could be in kind, so maybe his services as a historic architectural, architect could be leveraged. Perhaps some of the historians on that list that are acceptable professionals would be able to underwrite part of their costs. But he would need us to go forward and agree to allow him to apply. A total of, it's usually grants are likely to range between $3,000 and $10,000, and he's been assured this is a good year by the folks at the New York State, the Preservation League of New York State, that this is a good year to apply. Now, it's really up to you guys if you want to authorize him to go ahead and apply. I would maybe suggest that we condition that by saying, yes, if you can raise the funds locally, to match that, we'd be in favor of sponsoring that application. But I don't believe we have money in the budget for such a project at this time. Does anybody have any comments on that idea?
It would be something to explore a little bit more. I mean, I think that is a good idea if you could have funds raised to match it, then it's a great idea.
He's done a good job in the past raising funds for various community projects, including our community garden here. So I believe he's capable with support of raising the $5,000. So I guess I would make a motion that we encourage Leo to apply for the grant with the condition that the money is raised privately from other sources. So we would be the vehicle for his application, which is due May 5th.
I second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hinselberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks, Vicki.
Thank you, Mike.
Look forward to, grants do bring prestige to the town, too. It's not just the dollar amount. Getting a grant, you can help build on it, so I think, it's great you're doing that. would be a prestigious grant that could possibly lead to other opportunities. And I also think it would be great to have a grants committee. That may be something that would be helpful.
I was thinking the Greenway grant that's due May 9th, is that a possibility that we could utilize this grant? Because I think there's tremendous
Yes.
historic, rich resources here that we could leverage for more tourism. Troutbeck, for instance, is the first meeting place of the NAACP. I mean, I think that we could leverage this to some economic development thing that would fit with the Greenway principles very, very nicely. So is that something you all would not mind us looking into? The deadline is
They're
right
pretty
around the corner.
straightforward. We've gotten many of them in the past. The Greenway's given the town $17,000. So we've definitely used them, and
We should use
but Amenia it's been helpful. It leverages, but it's a 50-50 grant again, so it could actually be a good match for that. And they do like funding plans that focus on rebuilding your downtowns or focusing on your historic.
Cultural resources.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
tourism, things like that.
So do we have authority to apply on behalf of the town for, also to the Greenway Conservancy for a cultural,
I was under the impression you were working on that already, Mike. That's not the case?
Well, no, I've been researching the Greenway
Cultural
grants,
resource
but that could be a good match for the, I was mentioning it as just a general, one of the upcoming grants that is due, that's due on a quarterly basis, the Greenway grant. You mean working on the historic inventory? Or?
No, I thought that you were working on getting us a Greenway grant from a couple months ago when we talked about it. I guess
I was mentioning that I think that there's an opportunity coming up.
so a
The town is now-
cultural resource survey identifies, assesses, and recognizes historic buildings, structures, and areas. The survey is undertaken when creating historic districts or otherwise planning for preservation and revitalization of a historic area. It may be defined geographically, a downtown commercial district, or an entire village, or thematically, for example, canals, canal-related buildings throughout a town, or barns. Depending on the project goals and how the survey work has been completed previously, support may be available for the preparation of broad historic overviews. In other words, it's basically enlarging upon the work that's already been done with the windshield driving around tour that Stephanie Mari and I believe Joyce G. did years and years and years ago, identifying the historic structures then and bringing that up to date. I think it'd be great.
The historic tour.
The Duchess, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot here.
We certainly do have rich history, and so I definitely support something like that. You know, history is one of my passions. Yeah. So.
Okay, so next on the list, thank you very much, Mike.
Okay, Vicky.
Okay. Committee reports?
No one's here.
You've heard from Recreation. We did have a note from Haley from the Wasaic Project, who recommends that we consider allowing, hopefully, if this would work out, incorporating the Wasaic Project's open studio opportunities during our summer recreation program. She says, she writes that the Art Nest is a free drop-in studio space that the Wasaic Project is opening in Maxon Mills in June. The Art Nest's mission is to provide a free space for kids and families to do individual and collaborative art projects, build creative skills, and engage with contemporary art. Art projects include collage, small-scale sculpture, map making, bookmaking, vegetable prints, and more. Art Nest is staffed by a highly skilled team of art educators with backgrounds in teaching art. Each Wednesday will feature a different project as well as individual options. Art Nest is open between June 15th and August 28th on Wednesday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. and during the Wasaic Project's exhibition hours, Saturdays and Sundays 12 to 5 p.m. The Wednesday hours have been scheduled in conjunction with Amenia's recreation camp swim schedule. And we are hoping that the board will help provide an additional $166.20 for the year to fund the extra side trip to the Wassaic project on Wednesdays in order to enable rec camp participants to have access to our projects and activities at the Art Nest. The Wassaic project will be providing all materials and staff free of charge. So all the town would need to do was to bridge that extra time and mileage, getting them to and from the Wassaic project's facility. So that's just a thought out there. I think we need to pass that through Kathleen, the rec director, and through the Recreation Committee, so that they have a chance to think about it. But I thought it's certainly worth pursuing. $166 could be found in our budget to cover that extra busing if that's what would, enrich the summer camp experience.
Now, if that's on the weekend, did you say?
Well, this one would be, they would have a special session.
Could you go to the mic so
The
people
question
can hear you?
was, is this on Saturdays and Sundays? Yes, there is that open to the community, but they would be holding special hours for the kids in the camp program. Could you go to the podium just to?
Kathleen and Chris have started the discussion. It's going to be brought up to the next rec meeting.
Okay, so
I
it'll
think
be
it's a
discussed.
great idea. I'd love to see it happen, but would we have to supply counselors to go with those children, or will their parents take them?
I think it would just be a part of the overall project. So whoever accompanied the kids down to the swim program on their way back, they would have a stop at the Wassaic project, Maxim Mills, as I understand it.
Right. But would that entail extra hours, what I'm saying, for their counselors?
Not of the recreation staff.
Not of recreation staff, not of anybody. The only extra expense that I can see, that I understand would be incurred is the 1 year, for the whole summer, $166 is an estimated extra mileage that would be
Right.
incurred
Okay,
by the bus
but you're saying on the way back from someplace, so,
from the swimming. I guess there's, wherever they go swimming.
if they would volunteer to do that, I think it'd be wonderful, Yeah, Kathleen would have to go through that with her counselors, and
Right.
I hopefully we could find the money for that.
Is
It-
it
it
ready
was-
before rec commission?
It's already been discussed with some of the rec chair, and Kathleen have already had email correspondences with each other. They had conversations, I know, today. It's going to be brought up at the next recreation meeting. So the first Monday of the month, recreation has meetings at 6 p.m. upstairs board meeting room if anyone's interested to attend. But
I think we'd all like to see that. I think it'd be wonderful.
It's a great resource, right?
Yeah, we might be able to even find some money in the budget. Sometimes we have money left over in different lines, but I can't guarantee that now. Recreation's just starting, so. Okay, thank you.
There, other reports, committee reports? Well, the CAC, Conservation Advisory Council, did meet on April 16th, and we did do a cleanup day on the 10th of April in Wassaic and in Amenia. Thank you again for providing some extra help, Dawn Marie from Volunteers. We did go over Delavern's history. Arlene Giuliano presented an article reviewing the whole historical significance of the Delavern Hill that we hoped would be brought to the planning board's attention. We've asked and are going to consider having the CAC become an interested agency or party to the Silo Ridge proceedings so that they can receive informational materials as well. So we're not quite sure how that process goes, but we had, the CAC in the past had been an interested party, but had, for this go-round, the new plans have not been a part of that. So I suppose we should have them ask the planning board to be included, or is that something the town board should initiate?
I would think that they could ask, because it, would be a factor that the planning board would be considering,
Okay.
I think, in the approvals.
So that they get access to the materials.
Yeah, and I don't know what public hearings that they'll have scheduled.
Might want to touch base with Norm Fontaine, the chairman of the planning board, since they are the lead agency on the project.
So I'll have Dave Reagan contact Norm.
And that fits within the purview of the CAC?
The CAC, yes, is supposed to act as an oversight for anything that affects our natural resources, conservation of our natural resources, and historic resources. We went over sustainable stewardship. We went over Silo Ridge's last plans so that we could get, we used what we did have for information and going over their secret process and their revised proposal. We talked about some activity on Bog Hollow that was alarming some residents. There seems to be some clear cutting of trees and harvesting of large rocks. So that was, Dave Reagan will inquire with John Fenton about that activity.
Could you have them pass the complaints along to the board as well?
These are being approved as we speak, and they will be CC'd to you and Dawn Marie.
They've already been sent to us.
Okay.
Minutes were sent to Gretchen, myself.
No, the complaints.
Oh, the complaints.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see what the complaints are.
That would be in John Fenton's office, I believe. I mean, these were just verbal concerns, no written complaints that we received. Okay. Committee reports, resolution for use and occupancy permit 82415 on Old Amenia landfill project. This is resolution number 11. Okay, this is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into and execute New York State Department of Transportation permit number 82415 for use of state-owned property and to procure insurance and certificate of insurance as required in said permit. Whereas the town of Amenia, hereinafter the town, has proceeded with steps to close its former landfill site located at Route 22, Town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York, and whereas during such closure process, a certain monitoring well with metal guard pipe, fence, and other installations have been located on certain property owned by the state of New York on the west side of Route 22, north of reference marker 22-8204-1226, and whereas the town has been advised by its engineering consultant, CT Mail Associates, on the landfill closure project that it is necessary to access, maintain, and continue monitoring said monitoring well, and to maintain such fence, and whereas the Commissioner of Transportation for the people of the state of New York, hereinafter the state, is agreeable to entering into a permit for use of state-owned property with the town for the aforesaid purposes on the conditions set forth in said permit number 82415, and whereas the town board of the town has consulted with its engineering consultant, CT Mail Associates, on the landfill closure project and with its attorney, Denise M. Fitzpatrick, Esquire, with respect to said permit for use of state-owned property and has given due consideration to the terms of said permit and the comments of its engineering consultant and its attorney, and whereas the town, after due consideration, desires to enter into said permit for use of state-owned property for the aforesaid purposes in conjunction with the closure of its former landfill site. Now, therefore, the town board of the town of Amenia, in regular session duly convened, does hereby, 1, authorize the town supervisor to execute on behalf of the town the attached permit number 82415 for use of state-owned property on the conditions and terms therein set forth. 2, authorize the town supervisor to procure the necessary general liability insurance and certificate of insurance issued by an insurance carrier licensed to do business in the state of New York in an amount not less than $2 million combined property damage and or bodily injury, including death, single limit per occurrence, naming the town of Amenia as insured and naming the people of the state of New York as an additional insured for the term of said permit number 82415 and as otherwise required by the terms of said permit number 82415. Number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. Motion made by, I'll make that motion.
But this is the one where we were going to decide whether or not to keep the telephone pole with the electric.
Right.
Right.
Is that included in?
Well, as a precursor, the decision has to be made and a vote taken on the removal, because my understanding is the intention is that you're going to remove the pole and the panel.
Mhm.
because this
No,
is
that was
not
one of the
in-
options, to remove or
Right.
not to remove. Yeah.
Right, but I was asked to have this ready tonight,
Mhm.
which this permit from the state, DOT, will only allow the monitoring well for the purpose of a 4-foot-high, 145-foot-long wood rail fence and a 4-inch metal guard pipe around a 2-inch monitoring well. It says,
So
and
you
and for no
didn't-
other purpose.
You didn't prepare one that would allow for the pole to remain?
No, my understanding was that it was going to come down.
That was my understanding as well, that we
My
agreed to take
understanding
it
was
down.
that we were going to discuss it.
We understood,
Well, let's discuss it.
Well,
Okay, let's
This
discuss
is-
it. I think it should come down.
the information that we got, we spoke to Liz Rovers at CT Mail.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a question at the 2 meetings ago, I think, about the cost of removing
Right,
it.
and she said that the construction crew would go ahead and take it down for no cost, but then
It's
the...
included in
Yeah,
that
it's
contract.
included, so it's not going to cost us anything extra.
Right.
My thought was that it's an electrical drop at the, basically at the entrance to the Thomas Young Park.
Mhm.
So when we need to go ahead and put up, safety lights and things like that, so the area can be patrolled and monitored in the future, we would have that. We don't have to pay for it. The infrastructure would already be there. If we have it taken down, then we're paying for it.
But isn't it supposed to be, it's supposed to be closed after dark, right?
Right, but as with most state parks, there's the, lighting and such at the entrance, so it can be easily patrolled. So from a safety perspective and a cost-saving perspective, I would think that we would want to leave it there.
But I think the biggest problem is that it's on state property.
Yeah, that's,
Right, which was why we were going to,
But we
Get the
don't know if the state is
modification of
going to
the-
give us a permit
that's
to
what we were
keep the
trying to
pole
find
on the
out.
state property. Now, if we were going to put electric to the place, it wouldn't be on state property, it would be on the property for the park, so we wouldn't need that
We were going
permit.
to try and get the pole included in the permit, which was where I thought we were headed to see if we could do that.
No, the question at the meeting was the cost of removal. Like,
Yeah.
if it was removed, was
Yeah.
that going to be an additional cost?
That was one of the questions, absolutely.
Well, that's what I checked with Liz Rovers, and she said it's part of the original contract that the contractor would remove it as part of that contract price. So
Yeah.
if the pole is going to remain, this all has to go back to DOT to see whether or not they have to circulate this internally to see whether they will allow the pole and the panel to be there. So it would just have to go back if that's what you want to do.
I just thought it would be a really good cost-saving thing, and it's, the safety issue, having the infrastructure already put in place.
so we currently have no lighting at our Wasac project, park, correct, down at Wasac. We had talked about adding a light, and we went back and forth of whether or not that if you're closed after dark, should the lights be on, encouraging kids
Well,
to
that's kind of a
congregate?
different entranceway too, it's got
It's
the
more-
walking path,
yeah.
and this has got a parking area.
And what
in
happens
there.
at Beekman at night? Are
They
there
shut
any
them.
lights? They shut off lights.
pretty much.
But they also have the light that spills off of the road from the street lights there.
I just, the whole idea of having that area, it's kind of off the beaten path, away from town. Beekman Park is in Amenia, is in the hamlet of Amenia. Anything to do with Wasac is in Wasac. But, Thomas Young Park, like any other park, it should be closed after dark.
No, I'm not
We're gonna
talking
have-
about keeping it open, Stephen, I'm just talking
But
about
it-
providing lights.
Yeah,
that
well,
can be
that, in that
better
respect,
monitored.
well, I don't see how it's better. What it's going to encourage, it's going to encourage people milling around and staying there when you have a bunch of lights. Any type of park or anything like that, like if you go to any type of other park
No,
like
I'm not
that,
talking about a bunch of lights, I'm talking about a light, like safety, kind of safety lights. Not a lit up thing. It's just having that infrastructure in place.
The town would then have to make arrangements with the electric company to turn the power on, because according to Liz Rovers,
Should
it
they
was
choose at
turned
this
off.
point or a point in the future, yeah, they would make the arrangements to have that turned on. And of course, it would have to go into the budget and everything. But it's the matter of, right now, you have what you need, and you just have to get it turned on. If you have it taken down, then you have to have the whole thing rebuilt.
If we ever decide to
Yeah.
have electrical service.
Where are we at with like with the state of New York? And
That's
it's on
my
their
question,
property.
is the state of New York going to allow the pole there?
Well, that's what I thought was, we were gonna have an answer to
You know, I
tonight,
mean-
but I think that, is there a particular deadline on this, Denise, that we need to get this done right away, or could they
Well,
wait?
the only
2
issue I
weeks?
see is that when the contractor is out of there,
Mhm.
which I think Liz Rovers had said is right around now, once they leave, if they have not removed the pole and you later want it down, they're gonna have to come back, so there probably would be an extra charge for that. You know, again, still is the question whether DOT will allow the pole with that panel to be there. You know,
Right.
I don't know the safety issues that could be involved with it.
Hmm.
You know, and it is state property, even though the town is required to cover it with
Yeah,
the
I'm
insurance.
not sure what their concerns were either, I just hadn't thought that we were gonna find that out, but,
I think their assumption originally when they prepared the use and occupancy permit was that it was coming down at the end of the project. They probably just, Liz Rovers did raise the issue with DOT, but when she got the permit, it was not included in there, so they may have assumed that it was going to be removed as, you know, closing the project.
But as it stands now, it says here, the town does not want the utility pole and the electrical panel to remain, and the contractor is responsible for removing them, and the cost to do so is included under the original construction contract. There will be no additional cost to remove them. So if we find out that we have to remove that and the time lapses and we end up having to do it ourselves, we're gonna end up having to pay the bill. And I'm just not comfortable with that.
Well, my vision for the park, and I don't know what everybody else's, is a very passive situation. I can only imagine, you know, if there is a need for an electrical source, I would have been sorry to have it removed and not to try harder to keep an electrical opportunity there. I can only imagine like a concert or something like that there eventually, but you know, it's passive use of this, and I don't know,
mean,
can you
just like,
think of any particular reason why
aside
we
from
would be
a
sorry?
safety light or
Yeah.
an electric car charge port, you know, emergency electricity, people sometimes need electricity, especially in our day and age.
People would just be free to drive up and charge things up?
No, I'm just saying reasons that one would have electricity in a
Available.
park space. I'm not saying that the town, right today, should provide.
No, I'm thinking down the line.
Yeah, down the line,
What would
you
we
know?
be sorry that we did not have electrical opportunities there at the park? And
A guy in his electric wheelchair needs a charge, you know, there'll be electricity there. I mean, there are things that people need electricity for, and we've got the drop, so if we could keep it.
And we're not allowed to put any type of buildings on that property, is
No.
my understanding.
no. I'm thinking very,
So-
very
Yeah,
fast.
So
Thinking about putting a building in.
I'm looking at it from the standpoint of it being a passive use, like you said, Vicki, you know, just being what it is. It's
Get
a
out of
park.
your car and walk.
And walk.
And if you need electricity, you probably have come to the wrong park. This is I mean, that's my feeling. Is everybody ready to vote? And if
I mean, I don't
if it
disagree
carries,
with,
it carries?
I don't disagree with Gretchen's saying about the electric. What I do disagree with is the place of the pole. My feeling is if we ever did put electric in the pole, and if it was ideally, it would be more inside the park, it wouldn't be right on the outside on the state property. So if we ever did have electric in the park, I do believe it would be brought in from the pole, in our area where we wouldn't have a permit from New York State. That's my feeling. That's why I feel the pole should go, because it's on New York State's property. We have to get a permit. We don't know if New York State is going to give us a permit for that. And me,
We've got a maintenance issue.
if I owned a piece of property, I wouldn't want my electric source on state property. I would want it on my own property. Now we come up with issues. If there's a problem with the pole, do we have to get a utility truck? Now, are we able to service? It's just, I think it's bringing up a can of worms being on the state property. Just my feeling.
Okay,
Well, I move that we remove the power pole in accordance with the contract with, that was completed with, for the
Well, we have to do
landfill
is-
remediation.
We just have to pass a resolution to do that. We don't have to.
I've made the motion, so
Yeah, that's right.
you want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, but is the decision made on removal of the pole?
Well,
Because-
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
remove, 1,
That's what I
no
was
remove.
making.
So
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and pass
Okay.
the permit.
Okay,
That needs to be a separate resolution, though, the actual vote for the minutes.
I would.
So
Okay.
Stephen started to make that resolution.
I make the-
To remove the
Okay, I
pole.
make the resolution to remove the pole from
At-
state property in conjunction with the contract with the contractor.
I'd second that.
Councilman Delango,
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yeah.
Hitzelberger, Councilman Doyle,
Yes.
and Councilman Purdy.
Yes.
So now you have this resolution, Resolution 11.
And I did make that
You made
motion.
that motion, and Stephen Purdy is seconding it. Supervisor Purdy is noted as absent. Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger,
Yeah.
Councilman Purdy,
Yes.
and Councilman Delango.
Yes.
Okay, we have a retirement resolution. Has everybody had a chance to look this over? So we need a motion to accept the standard workday and reporting resolution for elected and appointed officials. Apparently, we had left off one of our elected officials, so this needs to be reposted and re-voted on as part of just a procedural process. Highway superintendent would have 8 hours for his standard workday. Town clerk, 6 hours. Board members, 6 hours. And all of that is, and deputy town clerk Patty Barron, 8 hours. Building inspector, 6. For John
Next page.
Pitt.
Next page.
Oh, that was, and the justice is for 6 hours. I'd make that motion. That we accept these standard work days as reported.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango,
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger,
Abstain?
One, two, three, yes.
Yeah, you can do it.
We got it. Yes.
Councilman Doyle, and Councilman Purdy. Now,
So air conditioning pricing, Mike, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, I looked a couple different places for air conditioning for the town hall. As we all know, we do need a new air conditioning system in the town hall. It's not gonna happen before the heat comes. So basically, a temporary fix is to purchase 7 AC units, window units, for each of the rooms. The units are 15,100 BTUs. It should cover up to about 1,000 square feet, which we're going to be just about right. I did some research. I did find a unit for $399 that could be purchased directly from Sears. We don't have to pay shipping. We don't have to pay tax because we're a municipality. And it comes to, for the 7 units, $2,799.93. Again,
Where would those 7 units go?
7 units are going to be the downstairs rooms, upstairs, there's one room left over.
Which downstairs rooms?
This room, town clerk, town court, planning board, justice room,
Assessor?
town board,
Assessor was having trouble.
the assessor, yes, the assessor
Building? They were having a
Building.
big problem.
is one. Then upstairs gets
That's
one new, that's 7, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you said
Then the
planning
2
board.
units are gonna go upstairs. There's 2 used units that are still good,
Okay.
Oh, good.
that we're gonna be able to just reuse them. That's why we only need 7.
And those are going to go in
Either the
supervisor's
planning
secretary?
board or the supervisor's secretary.
Okay.
Because the planning board room isn't used all that often, so that's
So
why
you're kind of semi-retiring one of them.
I'm trying to save a little bit of money and only getting 7 units.
It was really hot up there one night, but I think it's,
I think
Not
with what
every
we
night.
have left, we
Yeah.
can figure it out.
Okay.
That's my
we can
feeling
work it
on
out.
it.
All right.
Okay.
Again, you know, it's the cheapest price that I found, and it is a Kenmore, it's not a no-name unit.
And we don't have to bid this out.
We don't have to bid this out. So that's my recommendation, to accept the Kenmore model 70151 at $399 per unit, and purchasing 7 of them for a total of $2,799.93.
And this is cheaper than the other 2 quotes that you got?
Yes.
So it is,
And we have the electric in the rooms to handle it?
These will handle 1 circuit, will handle 1 air conditioner.
I mean,
That's why I went with the 15,000 BTU.
the price looks good to me. When we were looking for them last year, they were actually a little bit more, and that was even at the end of the season, so
That's
this
good.
looks like a good job, Mike. Thanks.
I make a motion that we accept the estimate of the $2,799.93 for the 7 AC units.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Public comments? We only have 2 people here, so don't everybody race to the podium.
I have that announcement. Everyone's been notified.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to make a public announcement to all of the community members that former Supervisor Ralph Vinciarello has passed away today. So I would ask the board and our community if we could have a moment of silence for our grandfather, the former supervisor.
Thank you, Dawn Marie. Ralph Vinciarello was our former town supervisor and was a county legislature for many years for the, representing our town and others. And he is always a big community figure for the town. It's a big loss. We appreciate all that his family has done for the town all these years.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for the family's loss.
Town board comments?
I just wanted to make a couple comments. They brought up the playground today, earlier tonight. I do agree that it is a big expense, but I do feel we need to do something for the young in the community. And I personally have 2 kids, and it's hard for us to get into Beekman Park, especially when it's closed down during the winter time. We don't go to the Wasake Park. Having a playground centrally located in the center of town, I think is a great idea. Again, I understand $87,000 is a big investment, but when you're thinking about the youth of the community, it's a very small investment. And as far as the DEC goes, I feel it's more procedural than anything. I can't really see, I spoke with the DEC official, I really can't see there being a problem. Again, it's procedure. We're doing our due diligence. You know, there's people that are working on it. There's people that are figuring this out. There's people that are keeping it under budget. So me personally, I think it's a great idea. I think it's an asset for the town. I think it's an asset for the community. So I would like to see this go as soon as we can. Again, I just don't want to push it through. I do want to make sure things are done right, but I think we've done our homework and I think we're there. So it's just, you know, again, procedurally, get things done the right way. That's what the money's there for. The money's there for recreation. And, you know, let's give the kids something. You know, that's the way that I feel. And that's really about it, you know, as far as that goes. So.
I would just echo that in that I did meet with Mark Morrison, and Chris Klinger also met with him, and it is a big project. It needs to be well thought out. Mark Morrison did mention, and it hadn't really occurred to me, that when we do redo that playground, it does need to be ADA accessible. So we'll have to figure that out. And I thought, Mike, you had applied for ADA accessibility for this community development block grant. It didn't get funded, but is there any way some of those ideas about, you know, how to make that sidewalk accessible, it's going to be an issue we're going to have to deal with, and the whole big picture budgeted.
Can I just say?
Sure, thank you, thank you.
I think
part
that
of the
is
plan.
part of the plan. I think
know,
that is
that's-
a-
It's part of the current plan.
Access getting to the
Yes.
playground?
Yes.
The whole thing.
Okay,
Well,
so
any
that's
new-
incorporated into the $87,000 figure?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, any new construction has to be ADA compliant, and I've been noticing that a lot of the community development block grants that have been awarded, including some that actually I have worked on myself in other communities like Pleasant Valley, have been awarded for handicapped accessible playgrounds. So really, if you were to, the only problem with that is that CDBG, there's several priorities, and usually infrastructure is the top priority, and recreation is not. However, if you were to apply to make a playground handicapped accessible, I think you'd have a very good chance, because the whole point of that program is to help low to moderate income people, and handicapped individuals are considered automatically. In fact, the town is still eligible as a low to moderate income community, this particular area of town anyway. So there's definitely grants out there, and it probably would be worth pursuing. But if you're going ahead with it, a lot of times, you know, you can't backtrack on grants. But the town there definitely are some opportunities out there, and community development is one of them. So, and I've seen, like, if you just notice, East Fishkill got a handicapped accessible playground this year. Every year there's one.
For how much? It was like
LaGrange.
150?
The maximum you can get for that particular is $100,000 under Dutchess County's program. The thresholds are higher if you participated in the state program, but it's also more competitive. But anyway, just wanted to add that is a source of funding, and a lot of towns have done that, even in towns with higher incomes like LaGrange and Pleasant Valley. So it's a priority for Dutchess County because they're good projects. You've done your homework, you have the budget. It's $100,000 could help you out a lot. The only thing is that grant is not, it's due in October, I believe, and it would be for 2015.
Right.
So can you wait a year, or, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, the question that I had in just thinking about this is that we do not have quite enough money to do the prep.
Well, I was just looking at the numbers, that's not correct. The 22 to 25,000 was if the company came and did everything.
That's right.
If I remember correctly, it was between 5 to 8,000, and we were planning on doing a community build throughout 3 days. And the whole thing about the meeting with the community build, it brings the community together. And it lets the kids participate. It lets the parents participate. I mean, I think that was the idea of the playground. You're going to make something that, you know, the people built, you know? And I think that the numbers were maybe misspoken before, because I think it was $22,000 to $25,000. Yes, it would have put you immensely over budget, but that's not what the plan was. I think it was $5,000 to $8,000 for the community build, and I'm almost positive that was part of the $87,000. If I'm correct, I'm not 100% sure.
The proposal that was presented to us was that it would include them building it. And the option of the community build was expressed when this room was full of 30 community members. And the room was for the community build. So
If we
I
could
think
get
that we
a
didn't
copy,
discuss.
that would be so helpful, because otherwise I just don't have.
I think all this work is done. You know, I think
Yeah.
all this stuff is done, all the
Right.
figuring is done and everything. I mean, the last hurdle that I remember is the DEC.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm pretty sure that
Because that was brought
they've
up.
already, we're moving forward.
Yeah,
with
no,
that
no,
right
that's
now.
definitely moving forward.
They're just waiting on the architect design so it can go in with the permit. And I
Okay.
apologize, Chris isn't here tonight. They're taking a class, he's taking a class at the Paladine Center for heroin overdose. So he's at one of Greg Ball's things, which, so it'd be, it wasn't an agenda item, but I can be sure that he's here at the next town board meeting and have, re-present the numbers to the board, and
Or you could
just
just,
give
maybe,
it-
maybe an
you
you
could
could
update.
just
forward
give
it.
us a copy of the
Yeah.
information.
They
That'd
can
be
just
great.
forward it,
Redo
that'd
it.
be great.
Yeah, I'll have them to
Yeah.
resend it.
Okay.
And then just one more thing, I mean, it was mentioned about the sewers, yes. And that's kind of my feeling why we do need a central sewer system, because there are things that are failing. So. Now I'm done, Steve, go ahead.
Okay. May 1st is the National Day of Prayer. And so any of you that, I believe that they're going to be meeting at the Salisbury Town Hall and Noble Horizons. And I'm sure that there are other churches around that are going to probably be gathering for the National Day of Prayer. And so I urge you to take some time out to pray for America and support that day.
I wanted to thank a private donor who gave money to the town of Amenia's free dance program. And we did apply for a $3,000 grant that would include, as you stated, the setting aside $1,000 to try and put a curtain on the back of the stage so that people can move from one side of the stage to the other without being seen. And we're doing more looking into that. Both Mike and I have been working away on trying to get some estimates for...
I got AC and I got the stairs.
You did? Excellent. So Mike is a whirlwind for getting estimates. Just so we're compiling basically a wish list of all the things that we would need to build the ultimate auditorium for community resource, for people to use it and people to enjoy it. So we're hoping that by putting together this wish list, we'll have a grand plan taking shape that would maximize its full potential, realizing that there are significant hurdles that we need to do, and starting with the leaky spots that have plagued the,
I think that's taken care of, so.
So we're working away, and Silo Ridge has been very helpful in trying to help us stay focused, and we got a sound analysis they paid for free, so that we could make sure that the immediate efforts that we're making to try and slow the sound down that keeps bouncing around the walls and freaking out performers, that we're making the right choices as we go. So thank you to Silo Ridge. We have a lot of people to thank for Cleanup Day, but I'm not going to say the whole exhaustive list. Just people are I really appreciate initiatives that I'm aware of, people doing some work on Depot Hill Road, as they always have, just different segments of the town are cleanup. Victoria did some. People come, if you have a little section of the rail trail or you have a section of your neighborhood, just let me know and I'll make sure that Welsh will get your roadside trash delivered free of charge. Smithfield Valley is yet to do theirs. They're doing it this Saturday. They're going to bring it in on Monday, and we've made those arrangements. So they usually bring up 1 or 2 pickup loads of trash out of the Smithfield Valley. I urge you to take your own little segment, even if it's in front of your front yard, even if it's a stretch of road that you pass by every day. We all know where there's just a ton of trash that's there every year. And if you can try and do it once a year, that's great. Just let me know and I'll work with Welsh. They've been very good and very flexible to meet our needs. Also, I had a question about, I think maybe we all had that question about, was all the town board members, about hazardous waste and electronics, that Welsh has had to institute a higher fee. It used to be free and now they're charging, but there's still a very affordable way to get rid of your electronic waste and your hazardous waste. And on Saturday, May 3rd, the Dutchess County Resource Recovery Agency will be taking your hazardous waste and electronics. You pay $5, you have to make an appointment. There's also Saturday, June 7th at the Town of Rhinebeck Highway Department is available. Saturday, June 12th at the Dutchess Intermodal Center in Fishkill. Saturday, August 2nd is at the Dutchess County Resource Recovery Agency. There's Saturday, September 6th, Cornell Cooperative Extension in Millbrook is your closest bet if you live in the town of Amenia. We used to have it at our transfer station. I will ask Welsh if they can please be on their list even, next year, if that's what we have to wait for, so that you have an inexpensive way of getting rid of your electronics, your TVs, your hazardous waste materials, central processing units, modems, terminals, laptops, keyboards, DVD players, that sort of thing, videos. That's all I have.
I looked into the attendance. So I looked into the attendance for the past couple years for the boards in question. And the past year wasn't a problem. The year before, there was one board that had a bit of an attendance issue. My thing with the whole attendance issue is that the planning board and the ZBA, they're independent. And I think that's really, really, really important to keep them as independent, not influenced by the, as I said, knee-jerk politics that can go on. Not necessarily on this board, but you do have to think into the future. So I thought that maybe a compromise would be if we set it up so the boards themselves would have some kind of supermajority vote that would, say, okay, this person needs to come off the board for an attendance issue at that, and only at that point, after they've done that self-policing independently, would that person come up before the town board, at which point we would follow that state process of the hearing before the board. It would keep the boards independent, which I think is really key. What do you guys think?
Well, if you want them to keep their independence like that, why don't we just let them nominate themselves then?
What do you think about having them being able to...
I think it should be controlled by the town board. I think the planning board and the zoning board, as independent as they are, they're still a functioning body of the town board.
Well, the
And
statute does
it's New York
say
State
it's the
law.
town board.
Well, That's what I'm saying.
She's just saying
At
that the initiation
the
would come from the
initiation of the
planning board, not
process
from
start
us.
from the boards themselves.
But it's the town board that
At
is
the end of
authorized
it.
by statute to set the standard.
That's right,
You know what I
we're the
mean?
governing body.
Right.
Right,
The town board sets the standard by local law,
right,
per the town law.
yes. So the chairman of the board, the boards themselves would have that vote, and then the town board would follow that standard. I'm not saying change the state law, I'm saying just put this in front of it.
I just don't see that authority under the town law. I mean, the
I
town law
don't see it as
tells
something
you
that's,
what you're allowed to do to set a standard.
yeah, I don't see it as being, as really making much sense, you know. And I kind of we went through this before, you know. Hey, you won't get kicked off if you show up and go to the meetings. It's pretty simple. So if you're, you know, unless there's some extenuating circumstance for missing meetings, like health issues or something of that nature, then I could see, you know, maybe giving some leeway there. But being able to attend the meetings are set, you know, the responsibility when you serve on any type of board, whether it be the town board, and I don't even want to stop with the planning and zoning boards, you know, whether it be the
Well, I think you make a
CAC
good
or any of
point,
those.
Stephen. I think it's the whole issue of leeway, what's considered leeway,
Well,
is the thing that I would want to make sure wasn't
The authority,
abused.
the authority resides with the town board, not
Yes, it
the.
does.
So why are we asking the zoning board members and the planning board members whether, oh, Johnny so-and-so who hasn't shown up in 6 months should stay on there or not? That makes no sense to me. We are the governing body, we make the call.
And it's even throughout. I mean, it is a numeric number of absences that triggers this. It's not us singling anybody out. It's a cold calculation. We don't need anybody to
And it
vote on that.
triggers-
We know whether they have
As
done
Stephen
it or not.
just said, there's leeway, you know. Oh, somebody was sick,
Oh,
or
well, that's
somebody
built
had
into the system.
But
a
the-
death in the
That's built in.
family, and
The
it's
number
leeway.
trigger-
We do
that-
have leeway
That's
provided
It's
for.
the leeway that can be abused.
The number triggers a hearing
Right.
in front of us,
Mhm.
and then the
Mhm.
hearing is why, oh, someone was sick, I broke my leg, whatever, you know,
My
then
mom
it,
is sick.
then
and
it
we
goes on
just-
our
yeah,
thing,
do it.
well, you know, hey, that's a legitimate excuse, bang,
Yeah.
you know, it is, I think that's, I don't see how that's knee-jerk, if it
No.
goes through a hearing and everything else. I mean, I guess I don't understand where the
just-
knee-jerk is
I
coming
just
from.
see it could be something that could be
Because, I mean, if you're
abused.
3
You know, I'm
times,
just trying to think out in the future, and I thought this would be a good compromise.
I just thought if it's 3 times absent, that's a matter of a month and a half. It's not knee-jerk, you know? And then you have 8 total for the year. It's a thought-out process. It's just not something, oh, I woke up, I don't like that, oh, bring it before the board.
Exactly,
You
you know.
We
know-
have 24 meetings over the course of the year, so 3 absences over the course of 24 meetings.
No, it's 8.
3 in a consecutive, 8 total.
I just think that it would help keep the boards independent, and I think there's a reason that the state has them as independent.
They're not independent.
Okay, so how do we need to proceed to make this, to basically make this the law of the land and to adjust the procedure? So after they miss the meetings through that allotted period of time, they come before us for the hearing and can be either, they either present the evidence that, you know, I've been caring for somebody who is ill or whatever it may be, and then we can make the determination of whether they can remain on the board or they would go.
Right, and it is built in that if there are extenuating circumstances, I mean, someone is ill or something like that, it is built in, that would be taken into consideration. But, you know, I think what Mr. Fontaine was mentioning at the last meeting, where, you know, they've had problems in the past where someone is absent just continually, and it puts that burden on the rest of the members that they can never be absent because there won't be a quorum.
Right.
And that can be costly
Well,
to
and then there are the legal
applicants.
costs to the applicants.
Mhm.
And the wasted time. I mean, a month goes by, and we're talking about a lot of wasted time when they need their permits and they need to get going. And we want to be friendly and responsive to our applicants so that they can get on with their business, right?
You know, I mean, it's happened before. We had one instance not too long ago, there was a letter of resignation. The letter was lost, and there was a vacant town board seat, a vacant planning board seat for how long? Because a letter was lost. You know, and we had to have that letter, because then it's considered a resignation
In order to
to
move forward.
replace the person.
Right.
Exactly.
And Lana used to run around an hour before these meetings, trying to drum up enough warm bodies to come in here, whether they're sick or not. They had to come in so they could make a vote and get these applicants out the door. I think that this has been a chronic issue for us for as long as I can remember. It's time to move on.
In most cases, our chronic issue is getting people to volunteer to be on the boards, not trying to get them off.
I think what we need to have are people who are willing to serve in the full capacity. That's what we really need. We need good people who are there to do the work. And it's a lot of work, so they should know going in.
Well, I'm ready to move forward on this. I think we need to, I think we've discussed it enough. I think it's time for action.
I mean, it's all drafted and I can circulate it. I mean, it's ready.
Okay, well, let's do
So
it.
for the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks,
Right.
we'll have that? Okay. So May 8th, we'll be passing that resolution or taking a vote on it.
And Vicki, can you get the copies of the grant information that you were talking about? Can you send that around to the board so we can all take a look at it too?
That is, the grant information would come from...
The stuff you had for
Mike
what we're
Haggerty?
talking about?
Oh, this, certainly,
Yes.
absolutely.
Awesome. That was all I had.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Councilman Blanco,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
and Councilman Thornton.
Yes.